So there are two games from Ubisoft that I quite liked and that they have released a few years ago. I'm talking about, of course, Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I really was thinking about these two games in particular, and especially since one game is getting a lot more recognition and popularity than the other, and perhaps maybe, well, than they deserve in fact. But that's just the thing. I want to make a little bit of a comparison between the two, because I really have enjoyed my time with Assassin's Creed Origins, maybe even more than I did with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But for some odd reason, from so many years afterwards, Odyssey just keeps getting a lot more recognition than I think it really deserves. And I personally think that Origins deserves more recognition than Odyssey ever. But that's just me, of course. But nevertheless, I'm not going to be arguing and saying these things without some kind of merit or some kind of a, at least my point of view why I think so, right? Because I want to have a little bit of a, base in here that I could actually state. So I want to touch on a few individual key details, key points of the individual parts of the games that do well, some parts do not so well at as well. But of course, I'm not going to be making this like, one did better than the other, in particular to say that this is definitely the better version of that particular game and the other game is just bad. No, it just wouldn't make much sense because there have a lot of things that are quite similar and yet there are a few things that are quite different. And as such, I want to touch on first of all the setting, right? Obviously we know that Origins' setting has been in Egypt, right? It's awesome, I loved it. Egypt is perhaps one of my favorite settings to be a part of, especially that for an Assassin's Creed game. I really think it really worked. And Odyssey being that, how it went, basically, that it's based in Greece, it still really didn't, what can I say? Basically, by comparison of these two, simply easily, Egypt is way better option, and the beauty, the look, the aesthetic, the environment, and also that period in time as well. I personally think that Egypt just takes the cake completely. It's just so much more enticing, so much more interesting. It's a historical value I'm talking about as well, and the aesthetic of the beauty and everything like as such. It's just so unique that unfortunately I have to say that Greece it just doesn't really do much of a comparison in terms of like a value comparing that between the Egypt and Greece, at least personally for me. So yes, in this case, I definitely would be going towards my option. My pick would easily be Origins, that is Egypt. Okay, so of course, one that is getting the better part that I'm talking about is the setting. There's going to be a part that it's a pretty obvious, I think anyway, that Origins actually may have better skills and they have a lot more options and variety. But there's always a little bit of a demerit that we have to mention here as well. Since Origins was a lot more grounded game comparing to Odyssey, obviously, I don't know if to say that this is better or worse. That really depends on you and your personal view about this, right? In Origins, there was not much of skills of values and differences that you could do comparing that to an Odyssey. In Odyssey, with better skills that it has, and a lot more of it included, you basically became a demigod. You really do become strong, you do level up, you just become way too overpowered, to the point that nobody is your equal at all. And that's just the thing. In Origins, you felt like more human, right? But yes, I kind of understand a lot of people may say that, that was perhaps the direction that Ubisoft, the developers wanted to go with this part of the game, right? With Origins being a lot more grounded and personal story, and Odyssey is a lot more, bombastic, if that's the word, demigod-like and everything as such, and just going through the rails, right? And I kind of understand that. That's exactly why I'm going to mention that it really depends on you, how you like to play your games and how they are in terms of being more grounded or just going crazy out of this world sort of thing. And as such, because of this, Origins I think has actually a more balanced combat. It's genuinely, you have to pay attention to the strikes, to the enemies and the timings and everything like such. Even though Odyssey and Origins are, relatively similar in terms of the combat, they're not exactly the same. But yet, I still think that Origins has a lot more value to give for the players when they're playing the game in terms of the combat. Origins has it better. And I'm not saying that Odyssey isn't good enough, it really isn't, but it's just different. Like I said, you do just feel like a demigod in Odyssey, and nobody's your equal, even the monsters within the game. I'm not sure if this is a good thing. I actually consider this more of a negative, in fact, for Odyssey. This is an option that you can have within Odyssey, having gender options, right? One is the Cassandra, and the other is Alexios. And so I'm just wondering, like, which is the better part? With the canon point, Cassandra is basically the person you should be choosing when you're playing through the game. But because of this, Ubisoft had to unfortunately divide their attention between these two characters. So they couldn't really concentrate all their time and effort into one particular gender or that one particular character. And that's why I think it's a detriment. But in Origins, there's no such thing. You choose Bayek, you play as the male hero basically. He is that character. There's no need to kind of diverge the attention between the two. What if you would have been Bayek as a woman or Bayek as a male? Instead, it's a lot more focused adventure, the story, and how they actually tell it. So this is, I think, is a detriment for Odyssey. This is also why it's a problem within Valhalla as well. And this is why I think it's the better part of Mirage in the Assassin's Creed Mirage, and of course, like I said, the Assassin's Creed Origins. And this is definitely minus, even though there was some part of it kind of present in Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm talking about the ship combat. I can even just say basically it's non-existent in Origins, even though part of it is there, you know, in Assassin's Creed Origins, but comparing that to an Odyssey is just like, well, obviously there's a lot going on with the combat with the ship in Odyssey. It's so much grander, so much more. I really like. I enjoy it. I enjoy the ship combat within these three games, but you can't just say one's better, one's bad, because unfortunately the other just doesn't really have it. It's just the way that they decided to make, and also Origins being that it's an earlier game, then the Odyssey came out afterwards, like I think it was a year later, right? And so of course, you know, there's going to be a lot more time for the developers to create, to craft, to have, you know, for the content wise as well. So I can't really say that one is better than the other, since one doesn't even have proper kind of ship combat. So I'm gonna have to take away a point from Origins in this case, but nevertheless, I still think that I kind of understand the decision that they have made not to include the ship combat within Origins. This also kind of includes towards the customizability. I am talking about strictly regarding the ship customizability and so much that you can do within it. Now, it's not like you just say that Origins doesn't have it, but yet again, since there's more options within Odyssey, you know, I can't just exclude it and say nothing about it, because there is options that you can still choose and have in terms of the customizability for its ships. Now, it has been quite a while, and I can't really say which is better, which is not, but I can tell you this. I'm talking about the power scaling situation. I'm not sure if this is a bad thing or a good thing. It really depends on you. In Odyssey, as I recall it, it's been, like I said, it's been a while since I played it, and also including the Origins. There's a power scaling. You can't enter some regions and areas and maps and parts that, because they're going to be way too high of a level of the enemies that you'll have to face off. And of course, part of that was present in, Origins. But I feel like Odyssey had a lot more, well, gating, the scale gating due to it, and it really is a problem. In this case, so you see, this also really could just be a part of a person's opinion, what they think, which one does it better. And even though Odyssey is so much larger in scale and so many more options that you can do within it, it's not to say that's a good thing or bad thing. It really is up to you. Well, this definitely is a bonus for Odyssey. I'm talking about dialogue options that Assassin's Creed Odyssey has that unfortunately Origins doesn't really have, but yet, like I said, if you have an RPG system that you can have dialogue choices, they could be meaningful, they could be completely useless as well. And unfortunately, I have to say that Assassin's Creed Odyssey has quite a lot of meaningless dialogue options that just makes no sense, and for whatever the reason. In Origins, due to not having much of those options, if I recall right again, Basically, it's a lot more linear approach towards that story, and it made more sense. And here's the next best thing about Assassin's Creed Origins, that you're being a parent, right? You're being a character that's all about your adventure, your story, and just how you go through it as Bayek, and what kind of difficulties that he has had as well. And through this adventure, it just genuinely makes it so very appealing, at least to me. And this is why I prefer at least the story in the Assassin's Creed Origins, comparing that to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Since you're being a demigod in Odyssey, it's off the rails. Like, it should never have been called an Assassin's Creed game, but instead, like, there was some rumors that it was supposed to be at Odyssey and just having something like an Assassin's Creed story. Something could have been there, but nevertheless they decided to go with this direction, and you know what, I don't really agree with it, and due to that I think it's actually -0.4 for Odyssey, at least that's personally for me. But nevertheless, it really is up to you guys to think about which one do you rather have a lot more kind of grounded story, a lot more personal and family oriented as well. Odyssey, or like for example, be demigod off the rails, just go crazy. Of course, there's some family parts and story within it included. Okay, this definitely is a plus for Odyssey. I have to mention that they got a lot more variations in terms of the better having equipment and the system that it includes here as well. So genuinely you can actually craft or have your character look as different as you want him or her to be. And it really is, well, there could be quite big differences comparing to the level 1 armor to like level 39 as an example. You can go crazy with the different varieties of armors and of course the rarities. Origins of course has that, a part of it included, but again Odyssey just does it so much more. I have to mention this 100% because Assassin's Creed name is there. This 100% needs to be mentioned. I'm talking about one-shot assassinations. In Origins, basically, it exists all the time. It made sense. You kill everything in one hit, basically. Well, again, depends on level, blah, blah, blah. But in Odyssey, well, that's non-existent, basically. And as such, Origins having that assassination is like one hit kill, it made sense. Because, well, I don't think I have to say it, it's an Assassin's Creed game. A few things that Odyssey did quite fun, I should say. I can't really say it's a good thing, bad thing, or whatever, I'll just mention it anyway. I'm talking about the interactions, right? I'm talking about the interactions having differences of being serious in tone, being funny in tone, or being completely off the rails, being completely monotone. It really depends. And there are different varieties due to that, and that's why I want to mention it in here at least. So, because there's always nice to have options. In this case, I think it's important to also mention that Odyssey definitely has better boss designs and boss fights, even though Origins doesn't actually have those, monsters, creatures out of this world sort of thing. But yet, Odyssey just, well, they got bunkers. But Origins, like with its DLC, if you choose to get it for yourself, of course, you will actually get to explore these mystical varieties of different things that you can check out, of course. But in Odyssey, well, every other path that you find or go, you will find some weird things out there. So of course it really is up to you to have a lot more, maybe realistic tone or more of a mystical fantasy. Oh, I have to mention this, I completely forgot it for a second there, but Odyssey definitely has a superior mercenary and kind of like a cult system comparing to Origins. I really have enjoyed that. That's a lot more innovative and also kind of makes you feel a little bit more an investigator of finding these cult members. But yet you have to get these tasks done and more clues that you will find, and also you will be able to track these members far easier. So more clues you'll find, and of course you will be able to gather the evidence and find these particular people. It just makes it so much more appealing and actually has a worth of reward at the end of the day. So in this case, just a simple question. Which one do you prefer more? Assassin's Creed Origins or Assassin's Creed Odyssey? In my opinion, right, I can't just give you the answer that you think or should be the number one and objectively better game, because there isn't, unfortunately. There are a few good things in these two games. Some are present, some are missing, some are done well, some are done badly. But yet, I still think, in my opinion, that I think my preference would be Assassin's Creed Origins. Something about the setting of Egypt really resonates with me. It's just so grand, so awesome, I love it. But yet Odyssey cannot be overshadowed due to being how large in scale and quantity it's got as well. But yet also this could be a bad thing too. A lot more things to do doesn't necessarily mean it's a better game, right? And due to that I have to mention, well, the size and the scale. Odyssey just gone off the rails, similar to a style as Valhalla. If not, I think Valhalla is even grander and bigger than that. It's ridiculous. But in Origins, well, it's a little bit more, well, smaller in scale. But yet, it's just, don't get it twisted, because both of these games are ginormous in size and scope. Alright guys, that's all I wanted to have a little bit of a chat regarding these two incredible games, I want to say, because like I had my time, I had fun with them, I love them. I got through all the DLCs, I got a platinum trophy, 100%ing both of these games as well. I really have enjoyed my time with it. Just, you know, I want to have a little bit of a discussion regarding that. I'm noticing that Odyssey is getting a lot more love comparing to Origins, and I think that, well, Origins deserve it even more than Odyssey, but again, that's just me. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe. See you guys all, and have a wonderful day.